Molly, James, if you could receive any one bribe from a foreign government, what would it be?
I would happily take a seaside villa from any country with a coastline. From landlocked nations, I think I'd settle for like a lifetime subscription service to a local culinary specialty.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want a coastal place in any country. There's some pretty violent and rough ones.
Well, I'm assuming that I also get protection, right? That comes with the bribe. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I would want an oil concession.
I'm sure this can be arranged, but yeah, I think you guys are thinking too small. You could have had the
crown
Mona
jewels.
Lisa.
I want the
You
crown
could have
jewels.
had Buckingham Palace. You could have had the Great Pyramid. I, however, am going to request the Russian nuclear arsenal.
Oh, that's a good one.
I just think the resale value would be much higher. You know, I'd keep a few for myself.
Right.
Yeah, and then if you nuke my seaside villa, it's not worth anything to me anyway. So.
Precisely.
True.
This is Impromptu from Washington Post Opinions, a show that brings you conversations about the news we can't stop thinking about, even as we try to concentrate on launching our meme coins. I'm Dana Milbank, and this week we're talking about corruption in politics and the new heights, or depths, it has reached in this administration. As he headed to the Middle East this week, President Trump announced he plans to accept a gift from the Qatari royal family of a $400 million luxury 747 to be used by him as Air Force One, and then given to his presidential library when his presidency ends. His visit to the Middle East is one big conflict of interest, following trips by his sons to the region to secure real estate and crypto deals. A state-backed investment firm in the United Arab Emirates said it is making a $2 billion, billion with a B, investment using Trump's stablecoins. On top of this, Trump is auctioning off a members-only dinner for the 220 largest investors in his crypto meme coin. His crypto schemes have already funneled hundreds of millions of dollars into the pockets of Trump and his family and friends, with billions more on paper potentially heading their way. So today we're going to talk about the president's extravagant self-dealing and whether there's anything anybody can or will do about it. I'm joined by two of my squeaky clean colleagues to talk about corruption. Molly and James, identify yourselves.
I'm Molly Roberts.
I'm James Hillman.
I'm a columnist at The Post, and
I'm on the editorial board.
Sorry. I've got more.
And you're the
I've got
proud
more.
owners of seaside villas and oil concessions.
I was going to say, try to one-up me on this one. A seaside villa is nothing to my role as a host of the Friday Impromptu episode.
Must listen.
Wow. Yeah, you've silenced the crowd now. Well, thank you guys for joining me. So let's start with this flying palace Trump proposes to accept. He likening it to a gimme putt in golf. Even some Fox News anchors say this may go a bit too far. So what's in it for Qatar, and what are the risks to security, to honest governance, if this gift does end up as the new Air Force One? James, you want to take a whack at that?
I'd almost be embarrassed for the Qataris. I'd think less of them if they didn't make it one big microphone. Which I'm sure they will. I mean, it's a total security nightmare. It's basically like a flying symbol of corruption and kleptocracy that America is open for bribes, or at least the American president is. Anytime the president flies into a foreign land, the message is that he can be bought. And it's pretty breathtaking. It is amazing that Boeing can't get the new Air Force One ready and that there's been all these cost overruns and delays. And I am sort of sympathetic to Trump being annoyed about that. But then taking this plane, it's so wild that, as you know, a lot of Republicans, people like Ben Shapiro, are really teeing off on what is pretty clearly awful.
Do you think it comes with one of those escape pods like in the movie?
Get off my plane.
All right, let's talk about the crypto schemes, his meme coins, his stable coins, and other things I don't understand at all. Molly, you are our resident crypto expert. Can you explain to our listeners what is going on and why there is so much potential for corruption here?
Yeah, resident crypto expert is not a distinction I ever wanted to earn.
But she did earn it. She really is our in-house pro.
Here we are.
Of course, it's all relative to the rest of us. So.
Well, I was going to say, Dana, I'm not so sure I understand either. The crypto realm is seemingly infinite and infinitely silly. But basically, Donald Trump has a whole host of blockchain-based ventures. So there's the meme coin that trades as $Trump. There's a so-called decentralized finance project called World Liberty Financial that has its own proprietary token as well as a stablecoin, which is like a crypto token that's supposed to hold a steady value, usually of about $1. And then there's a bunch of even dumber stuff. There are digital trading cards, for instance. Those are NFTs, non-fungible tokens, on which the president appears in like an AI-generated Avengers-style costume. And all of this sounds complicated, right? I'm saying words like meme coin, stable coin, NFT, but the potential for corruption is really just as simple as anything in the analog world. It doesn't matter what all the tokens do. For the most part, they do not do anything. They're just a vehicle for purchasing political favor. People who want to curry favor can buy the assets as a means of paying off the first family, and they are doing that already. So there were these tickets to the crypto dinner, and you got those by being one of the top investors in Trump coin. And in many cases, those were foreigners. Then take World Liberty Financial, the Trump family DeFi project. One of the biggest investors is this guy, Justin Sun. He's Chinese-born. He was under SEC investigation for crypto price manipulation right about up until he funneled tens of millions of dollars into World Liberty Financial. Earlier this month, one of World Liberty's founders, who, by the way, is the son of Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff, announced this UAE deal, right? And you said $2 billion with a B to buy World Liberty's stablecoin to invest in Binance. Binance's founder is seeking a pardon for money laundering violations. It just doesn't end. It's just grift, graft everywhere you look. And again, it's simple.
I mean, it's so easy to lose track of like there's this deal and that deal, but that is the through line. Grift and graft. One
thing that's so dangerous about the crypto corruption is that people feel like they don't totally understand it because it's the blockchain. And also it is in some cases harder to tell what's going on than it would be if people were just buying shares of Trump's media company, the parent company of Truth Social, which, by the way, they can also do. The New York Times found who a lot of these top investors were and was able to, identify what countries they came from. But that wasn't easy work. So that's definitely part of the problem.
And in one case, to get a ticket to this dinner, a company took out a loan just so that they could buy access to the president. I mean, they're trying to save their business.
International Trucking Logistics Company. And they...
Yeah, sounds legit.
They said it would be good to promote their free trade agenda, I guess, by sitting next to the president.
And Trump has kind of centralized all this decision making. He's handing out, special exemptions and favors. And, on the UK trade deal, it was like, oh, Bentleys and Range Rovers are so nice. I directly got involved and said to exempt them. So if you see that as a business, you're like, well, I probably should pay for some crypto because it's the return on investment for a big company is worth it, even if it just totally undermines the rule of law. And
and just to underscore, this all makes the Trump hotel stuff going on last administration look like small potatoes. The crypto,
that was so quaint and adorable.
Right, it was super cute. And now you have 40% of Donald Trump's net worth is from what he's made on crypto in transaction fees and on the value of his own tokens going up, which happens every time he hypes them. I mean, a lot of that's just air, but it's about $2.9 billion.
So is it possible that it's gotten so gross right now that it actually does backfire? So Democrats, with the help of a couple of Republicans in the Senate, blocked that bill last week that the crypto industry was trying to get enacted. I mean, I've expected there'd be blowback in the past, when he's cashing in on books and sneakers, trading cards, even Bibles. Is this higher dollar corruption actually have the potential to backfire in a way the other schemes haven't?
I don't think so. Not immediately.
Nope.
If you're a company getting shaken down by Trump right now, what are you going to do? Go to Kash Patel and the FBI and offer to wear a wire to expose the corruption? What prosecutor is going to bring charges right now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredibly depressing to say that because the rule of law is so central to our system, but it feels like right now it's suspended until it isn't.
Okay, I'll try to be a little cheerier because I think with crypto, it is backfiring already. I mean, he's so appropriated the crypto industry, made people associated with Trump that it's causing issues for the industry. You mentioned this stablecoin bill. It was supposed to fly through Congress and it was going to be the beginning for crypto of this golden age for digital assets. Suddenly, they were going to get friendly rules after the Biden administration being kind of mean to them. And now it looks like they're not, because Democrats see the crypto thing and they say, that's Trump. And this is a great opportunity for them to take action. They don't have to rework any laws on the books. They don't have to convince the courts to reinterpret new laws. They don't have to get prosecutions brought. Crypto doesn't really have laws right now. They want favorable ones, and they can make sure that those favorable ones at least don't happen.
Yeah. I think you're both right. Like there's no legal threat to Trump because the law is whatever he and Pam Bondi say it is right now. But I do sense that something is changing politically. Democrats had been afraid and, taking crypto money on their own and sort of afraid to wade in because they don't want crypto money spent against them in primaries and elections. But it does feel like they're saying, okay, wait, maybe we can be brave here and actually take a stand. It feels like that's happening.
I mean, I hope you're right. You mentioned Pam Bondi, and I mean, one of the things that hasn't gotten enough attention in this Qatar plane deal is that she was a paid registered lobbyist for Qatar until January. And she's the one who writes the legal guidance signing off saying there's no ethical issue here taking this plane. It all just feels so unseemly.
Right. To be totally clear, they can make sure crypto doesn't get more favorable rules, but Trump can go on issuing his stablecoin right now and nobody's going to do anything about it, regardless of whether they should under current law. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was being too optimistic, but it is at least something from an optics perspective for Democrats to be taking the fight to Trump rather than just sitting there.
Maybe slightly worse than selling Bibles.
Fragrances, too. That's my favorite Trump product.
Yeah, yes. We want to talk more about the billionaires who've gotten friendly with Trump and whether or not they're getting a good return on their investment. But first, a quick break. Welcome back. I'm Dana Milbank, and this is Impromptu. So, it has been a few months since all of those tech billionaires lined up at Trump's inauguration, and all kinds of corporate interests donated to his inauguration fund and made unenforceable promises to build new factories in the United States. How have their efforts to win Trump's favor worked out for them so far?
I mean, some are making out better than others. Of course, Elon Musk is doing all right. But Mark Zuckerberg, for example, who you also saw up on that podium, is doing less well. He tried so hard. He went on Joe Rogan and talked about masculinity. He got all these new outfits. He wears a little gold chain. He said Donald Trump was a badass. I mean, all of it is, from my perspective, a little embarrassing, but I think he was hoping it was just the ticket. And that did not get enforcers to drop a big antitrust case they're currently arguing against Meta. Google is in legal trouble as well right now. You could argue they've received other smaller favors. I mean, certainly the rhetoric against big bad tech has cooled down a lot. But the existential battles they're still having to fight even after prostrating themselves.
Yeah, and Google still hasn't settled over Trump wants to get a huge payday because YouTube, I guess, deplatformed him after January 6th. And so Trump is holding out for like 8 or 9 figures. And when you pay Trump, he just ends up wanting more. I mean, that's the lesson of the last few months is Columbia actually caves and then Trump demands more. And so I think once you kind of get into bed with him, it becomes really hard to get out.
Exactly. And the same thing with the law firms. It's like, they make their offer and then he comes after them for more. And it makes me think that like all these big pharma executives, making their huge promises of investment and shifting production over here because they're worried about the tariffs. And now suddenly he goes after them anyway with the drug pricing. So it just seems like you will never satisfy Trump. He has no permanent friends, only his permanent financial interests. All right, let's talk about, Molly mentioned Elon Musk. So he perhaps best captures the benefits and pitfalls of being a Trump courtier. On the one hand, the stock of Tesla tanked so badly while Musk has been doing the Doge thing that he's supposedly leaving to focus on the company. And that's despite Trump's attempts to hawk Teslas from the White House driveway. But there's also evidence of countries trying to fend off tariff threats by approving Starlink, Musk's satellite business, and the State Department and embassies suggesting to countries that they do that. So would you say that this bromance has had a net positive or a net negative effect for both Trump and for the world's richest man?
Ultimately net positive. I mean, I think Elon's reputation has taken a big hit. It's hard to know if people really do stop buying Teslas and it becomes like Republicans don't start buying them, Democrats stop buying them. But Elon is with Trump today in Riyadh and Mohammed bin Salman, and he continues to profit. I mean, it's certainly been a net plus for Trump. Elon was a heat shield who took a lot of the attention away from Trump by doing stuff Trump wanted to do, and also spent like $350 million to help him win. And still, X did a $10 million settlement with Trump that went as money to Trump himself. So I think it's been good for Trump. I think it's more debatable. Molly's the expert on Musk. She always has.
The expert on crypto and the expert on Musk. These are just
Musk.
No, it's
terrible things to be an expert on.
She's like
She is
in-house,
just
Not great for my mental health.
You are the expert. James and I are just BSing here.
Yeah.
You're the expert.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think James has it more or less right. Tesla is far from the only company that Elon Musk has to care about having price go up, get favorable treatment for. He was in regulatory battles with or under investigation by seemingly every agency there is. Transportation, Interior, Ag, the NLRB, EEOC, SEC, Defense Department. I mean, it was like everything. And so there's the backing off on that. And then there's the potential to make even more money than he already does from contracts. A lot of that is SpaceX. His companies already are contractors to the tune of, I think, $13 billion. And yeah, there's more money to be made. So sure, his reputation is tanked. I think he was kind of going to nuke his reputation no matter what. And he has managed to get a lot in return for it. So, he looks silly, and he wears the dumb like MAGA hat with another hat on top of it. I mean, it's ridiculous, but unlike for Zuckerberg, it really is paying off. People think he's, sorry to get all Tim Waltz on you guys like a year after it was cool, but people think he's weird. It's all this women and babies and secret compound stuff. So if that
he is weird.
Oh, he's super weird.
Well, I just want to add is that an amusing postscript, hopefully, to all this, I noticed in Barron's, I think it was yesterday, somebody who's done even better than Elon Musk, Devin Nunes, who left Congress to run Trump Media. He got pay last year of $47.6 million, even though total revenues for the company were $3.6 million. 20 times. The total revenues went into the pocket of Devin Nunes, and I'm sure the company has not made a single penny in profit. All right. So in the before times, this kind of self-dealing we've been talking about would be a career-ending scandal. We started to touch on this earlier. Does the public care about corruption and ethics at all, or has Trump just given us herd immunity to such concerns?
I think people have become a nerd, and it does feel like a lot of people are not yet at the point where they see how Trump's corruption directly affects them. One of the really depressing things about our political moment is when you go and talk to people, and frankly, like even listening to a lot of the podcasts that these tech guys and Trump have gone on, there's this sense that everyone is corrupt, which isn't true. And that's not the universal sense, but I think that there is kind of this view like, yeah, Trump's just doing what everyone else does, but he's being open about it. And I think we are going to have some kind of reckoning, or we're going to be in some new era where I don't know how this ends, but I'd like to hope that there's going to be some backlash. I don't know when it will come.
Yeah, I would like to think that it matters. My understanding is that historically in other countries, corruption has been a tipping point because people can, and in these cases, they certainly can see it and they can understand it, unlike more abstruse violations. On the other hand, exhaustion, numbness, tuning out is absolutely a threat. So I don't know. What scares me the most is that if the public does start to care, you have to wonder whether the president and his allies will do everything they can to ensure that they don't suffer repercussions. If they lose an election and then they get prosecuted for all this, that's not good for them. So
let's not have an election.
Exactly. Precisely. So, yeah, I don't feel great about it.
Yeah. I wonder if the combination of sort of these appalling ways to profit personally from the presidency, but combined with small novice investors in Trump's meme coin. I understand tens of thousands of them have just lost their shirts while he's getting rich on them. So I just wonder if the juxtaposition between him getting rich and his supporters getting ripped off could be something powerful. But I don't know. Don't you guys feel like I keep thinking of Al Gore getting in trouble when, with the Buddhist temple and saying no controlling legal authority?
I think of like not being able to take a free meal from a source. I think of all the ethics rules we have. I don't invest in individual equities because I'm like just some random guy.
Oh my God, some dude slept in the Lincoln bedroom.
The Al Gore thing is before my time, I fear, but to go so before my time that it's like a matter of the history books for me. Jimmy Carter put his peanut farm into a blind trust when he became president, and then it went into debt. He left the White House and he was like, oh my God, my peanut farm's in debt. So yeah. How far from that we have traveled.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also want to accept a peanut farm from any foreign power that is interested in bribing me after hearing this episode of Impromptu. And with that, we've got to wrap this up. Thank you both for joining this episode of Impromptu.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Dana.
This episode was produced by Hadley Robinson and Regina DeHeer, edited by Demir Marusic, and mixed by Emma Munger. Special thanks to Millie Mitra and Deirdre Byrne. Thanks for listening to Impromptu. Please let us know what you think about corruption in the Trump era. Send an email to impromptu@washpost.com.
And be sure to tune in on Friday to hear me, Drew Goins, and other colleagues talk about the biggest cultural issues of the day.